Hey everyone, guess who? Whew, the fall has been crazy busy, but I'm glad to be here with you for a minute today. So we have some very, very special guests today and a super cool pop-up museum that I'm telling you just absolutely have to see. So first up is one of my very special guests. She's a singer, songwriter, pop star. You may recognize her from her long run on American Idol. Let's take a look at Kimberley Locke. Hey everyone, so today I am so excited not only because we are coming to you for the first time from our brand new studio in Times Square, but I am sitting here with the amazing singer-songwriter Kimberley Locke. Thank you so much for being our guinea pig today.
Thanks for having me.
I was like, oh yes, that's a really good way to sort of christen the studio. As you can
Yeah.
see, we've got some work to do, but thanks for hanging in there and bearing with us today.
I'm glad to be here in your new space.
So you've got a brand new single out called Finally Free, and tell us all about what the song is and how you wrote it. And
Well, Finally Free is a song that I actually did with the fellow alumni, American Idol alumni,
Okay.
Ace Young. So Ace and I had, we were both in LA, and at the time we were running into each other at different events and stuff, and he finally pulled me aside and he said, why don't you come to my studio? I want us to do something together. And Finally Free is one of those songs that everybody can relate to it, and it resonates with people. And it's about being finally free from whatever that thing, that person, that mindset. It's a love story. It's, of course, most songs are written about relationships and things like that. So it's about, getting out of that bad relationship and finally finding the one, and you're looking back and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe, we're always there. We're always like 2 years too late. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I stayed that long, So it's just a great love song, but it can also, be related to anything in your life. And, whatever, we all have our personal demons, so whatever you're finally free from, this can be your anthem song.
And how would you describe the style or the type of song it is?
It's a dance song, I have been in the dance genre for, ever since Eighth World Wonder got remixed. So that's about 10 years now. And, it's interesting because when I first started out, I was on the adult contemporary charts, and that's where we went to with Eighth World Wonder. And, having the song remixed into a dance, song, it opened up a whole new genre for me. And it's been a lot of fun exploring that genre and just kind of watching my music do its own thing in the dance world, because I didn't know, 10 years ago, I didn't know. I don't think any of us knew that dance was going to be so huge, again. And it's been a lot of fun for me because I'm doing something that I never thought I would do.
Well, let's talk about your career, because it's had a really amazing sort of trajectory. I mean, I'm sure you're sick to death of talking about American Idol, but I would be absolutely remiss if I didn't bring it up. I mean, first of all, how was that experience?
I always tell people American Idol was a great experience for me. I mean, everything has its pros and its cons, but overall, you really can't focus on the negatives. You have to focus on the positive because the positives are so great. The learning experience within itself is priceless. Even for the people who don't make it into the top 10, the amount of experience that they get just as far as being on television and being a part of a TV show, you can't get that by going and majoring in television.
Right.
That in the field experience, it really is priceless.
And in terms of, you obviously, just did the song with Ace Young, and do you connect with some of your other fellow Idol folk, and do you follow them, or?
I'm in touch with Ace and Diana, and it was funny, I was in touch with them separately, and now that they're a couple,
Right.
I'm in touch with them, together. Ruben, I stay in touch with Ruben. Kimberly Caldwell, I see her around and about, and she's always hitting me up saying hello. And we don't ever it's not like we're all hanging out together.
Right.
But I do believe that we like to keep a finger on each other and just say hello. It's a very unique experience. There's only a few of us who've had the experience, so it's nice to maintain some level, whether it's on a professional level or whether you really are true friends. It doesn't matter. It's just being able to share that common goal or common bond with somebody of American Idol. There's not very many of us out there.
it was good, bad, and different. It was a kickstart to the beginning of this particular part of your
Right.
life, and now you've gone on, sort of,
Yeah.
and it'll always be part of you,
Yeah.
but it isn't defining who you are.
Exactly. When I was fresh off of American Idol and Eighth World Wonder hit and became a number one, my manager at the time was also managing with Barry Manilow. And he said to me, honey, Barry Manilow will have to sing Mandy for the rest of his life. Or Copacabana.
Right.
And it's one of those things, it's like American Idol. I will talk about American Idol, for the rest of my career. When you look at, we are a part of television history. We don't realize it now, but we really are not only television history, but music history as well, because American Idol changed the music world 120%.
Absolutely.
They loved us in the beginning, and then after season 5, because they didn't think we were going to make it that long, they started hating us because there are so many American Idol contestants who are successful and taking up that space. The space in the radio world, in the music world, it's like a parking lot. There's only so many spaces. So American Idol, when you look at 10 seasons, that's 10 artists, which I believe, of those 10, half of them are still very successful, but then you've got the other 24 who didn't win and who are still
Right.
successful. So American Idol is worth talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it really has, like you said, changed the face not only of music and television and pop culture. It's
Yeah, it
undeniable.
really has.
And particularly like your season, because it was still early on, and I was one of the obsessed American Idol people.
Did you have parties at your house?
I just, I'm the kind of person who doesn't want to watch it with anybody.
You're
I'm
so
just
funny.
like, I'm watching it by myself. I don't want anybody to talk to me. And I was obsessed for the first few seasons, and then I kind of stopped watching, and then I sort of came back to it lately. Well, I mean, I could sit here and chat with you all day. I know you've got a million things to do. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
It's been such a pleasure, and you're absolutely stunningly beautiful, I've got to tell
thank you.
You're
Your
really
lighting
beautiful.
is great.
So the single is finally free. It's Kimberley Locke. Run to your computer and download. There's
Yes.
a free version of it. Tell us where.
You can go to KimberleyLockeOfficial.com and get your free download. And I know that you will give me some great feedback with love.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming in. And you're going to come back and you're
Yes.
going to do a performance for us
I
sometime
am.
soon. So
Yes, I am.
I'm going to hold you to that. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Every once in a while, I come across something that truly blows my mind. And the Pop-Up Museum of Queer History is one of those things. So we headed down to the Leslie Loman Gallery in Soho, where the Queer Museum popped up for a summer stint. But fear not, although this iteration of the Pop-Up Museum is over, they are popping up all over the place and well worth you checking out online to see where it may be coming close to you. So check this out. So today I'm at the Leslie Loman Museum, which formerly was the Leslie Loman Gallery. It was very, very renowned here in New York City. And I'm with Jerry Capus. So why don't you tell us exactly what you do here?
My title is Director of External Affairs, which means I kind of handle everything outside the walls.
I was very familiar with the Leslie Loman Gallery, obviously, because they have a long-standing history with gay art and exhibits. And now you just told me that it's a museum unto itself.
Right, let me give you the history of how it started.
Okay.
Back in 1969, Charles Leslie and Fritz Loman decided to have the first gay art show in their loft on Prince Street. And they were hoping for like 25, 30 people to show up. And about 250 people showed up that weekend. So they went, something's going on here that we need to do. So they kept preserving and showing gay artists in Soho and in areas and got the name, kept growing the foundation. What happened around the 1980s with the AIDS crisis is they started noticing that people were coming in, families, especially with collections, not knowing what to do with their son's collection or not wanting to look at it since it was a little bit controversial of the art. So a lot of it ended up in dumpsters.
Oh.
And so what was happening is they realized we need to start preserving our culture in our community because this is part of who we are. So they appealed to the government to become the Leslie Loman Gay Art Foundation. The government didn't want the word gay in there. So they said, okay, we're not going to take it out. So it took 3 years to actually get the name approved, and they kept it. And so in 1990, it became the Leslie Loman Gay Art Foundation, and they opened a gallery. And in 2011, we applied for museum status to the state of New York. So now we are the only accredited museum in New York, the country, and the world dedicated to LGBT art.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations on that, because that is a monumental achievement in and of itself. And as we were talking before we started, one of my personal goals as well as one of my professional goals is to, sort of preserve LGBT history and particularly artists and people's stories and archive them as part of the Here Media Collective. And I can't thank you enough for everything that you folks are doing here at the Leslie Loman Museum. It's really amazing. Right now you sort of have a museum in the museum, because we're about to take a look at what's currently installed here in the Leslie Loman Museum. I can't wait to take a look at it. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing, and we will definitely stay in touch, because I think that we can sort of help get the word out as well.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I'm here with Hugh Ryan, who is the founding director of the Pop-Up Museum of Queer History. How did all of this begin?
It actually began in late 2010 in a very roundabout way. The Hide-Seek exhibit was at the National Portrait Gallery in the Smithsonian, and there was a big flack over the inclusion of a piece called A Fire in My Belly by seminal artist David Wojnarowicz. And when it was threatened that it would be defunded and the piece was removed, I was pretty angry, and I had a couple of roommates, and they said, let's throw a party. And I was like, let's actually throw something a little more interesting. So let's protest this erasure of our history, and let's throw a museum. We put a call out to artists and to volunteers, and the response we got was phenomenal. We had a number of volunteers and a number of artists who wanted to continue working on the project. We decided to make it official, and we thought, the whole point of this is to share and celebrate our history. It would be terrible to have people do this work and then have it disappear. And the Leslie Loman Museum of Gay and Lesbian Art was kind enough to give us their space. It's really an intergenerational and trans-global project. I would say 2011 was a watershed year in queer history. We are seeing projects pop up around the country and around the world. And so in this particular moment, when queer history, is being put forward in this big way, everyone wants it.
So what is this that we are looking at now?
This is a selection from the private collection of an archivist and librarian in Philadelphia named Rich Wilson, who has been independently collecting photos, books, and paper ephemera dealing with queer history going back until the mid-1600s. He actually has a collection of about 600 or 700 pieces, and most of it concerns 18th and 19th century queer people in history. Some of the pieces, though, one of my favorites actually is this little collection here, are relatively unknown. He's found these images. These ones seem to clearly show transgender identities. They seem to be very personal. These are not performers. These aren't artists. He's found a lot of flyers about drag shows and spectacles and this, but these images are actually very household images. These are private images. These are portraits that people took. And so the question is, who were these women? What were they doing? What we like to do with our history here at the museum is provoke questions, and I think this exhibit is a great one for bringing you in and giving you enough information that you know that there is some sort of connection between the queer identity of today and the queer identity of these women.
It's amazing because, in our sort of egocentric world of today, we think we made all that stuff up, You look at these photos, this is from 1889, and it's just remarkable.
What we want to do is not just show, oh look, there were gay people back then.
Right.
But to actually question both our understanding of what sexuality is and our understanding of what history is.
Right. So what is this that we're looking at now?
This is Harmon and Tobias by Tony Whitfield and Geordie Stalls, and it's the story of a 17th century barber surgeon named Harmon, who's from the Netherlands, who came to the New World and proceeded to form a sexual relationship with Tobias, who he owned as a slave. It's actually the first recorded history of an interracial male-male relationship in the New World, and it's recorded, unfortunately, because they were caught in the act and both of them were killed for it. It really blends a lot of today and the past together, which is one of the things that I love about it. It feels very personal, and it also tells a story that I've never heard. So these are 2 light boxes made by a woman named Alexa Garcia that deals with the lives of queer immigrants and queer immigrant communities around the world. And what Alexa did actually was collect all of these interviews with these migrant LGBT people and talk to them about their lives and why they left the countries they had been in and what their situation was. And then when you actually get to listen to the stories of these people, you really see what it means globally to look at queer identities. And I think these stories, because they have so much of these people's lives inside them, and you actually get to listen to their words, I think really give you this beautiful, beautiful full picture of an identity.
Well, it's just so incredible, and every piece that we've been so lucky to have you show us is so unique and beautiful and moving. And there are so many more here in the museum, and I can't thank you enough for what you're doing, and thank the Leslie Loman Gallery, or Leslie Loman Museum, I should say, for having it here and continuing their work. And it's something I cannot recommend highly enough, so if you don't get down here soon, make sure that you connect with them somewhere online and follow them, because this is a vital piece of what it is that we do. Thank you.
Thank you.
So a couple of my friends stopped by the studio not too long ago, and well, we had a little chit chat. So here's my little kiki with 2 of New York's finest, Justin Luke and Paige Turner. So I'm here with 2 of the coolest people in town, Justin Luke and Paige Turner, who dropped by to tell us all about one of the most fun evenings I've been to in a long time. It's called So You Think You Can Drag, and it's at the New World Stages every Wednesday. Now, whose idea was this?
3 years ago, New World Stages, I did a little small something for them, and then they called me and said, we want to talk to you, we want to develop a drag contest, a drag show. And we just started having meetings about it, and went through different names and things, and finally we came up with So You Think You Can Drag, and 3 years later, here we are.
And how did you end up getting roped into this?
Well, I just happen to be lucky to be one of Paige's really good friends, and I've always been there. I've been supporting the past 2 seasons, and she said, you do a lot of great work with this promotional company I work for called Boy Party, and she's a hostess at our event every Thursday at Excel, and we just figured, let's take our relationship to that next level and co-host something together.
Now, I mean, I have to say, full disclosure, I was one of the guest judges recently at So You Think You Can Drag, and it was so much fun. Like, I have to tell you, like, I feel like, to get me off the couch and out at night is, because she's an old lady. But it was really, really fun, and the crowd was really fun. And I have to say, like, even the contestants were like, I mean, they sort of ranged from like really quite talented to the absolute ridiculous. Are you ever surprised just who shows up?
I am, yeah. There's rules, believe it or not, that people have to follow and sign up and follow the themes and everything like that. But some people just kind of just don't follow that and just show up and do their thing. But some people are very prepared. There's people who are like, I'm going to win this. And I really do think like there's a certain attitude that comes in, and those people usually do win.
I have to say, like, I've came on and I was like, what's happening? And you're like, your feedback is like very serious. It's like you take it very seriously and like, give those girls like, some really constructive criticism.
Yeah, I kind of see this as not just a competition, but also sort of like a finishing school. We're really giving them constructive criticism, because the idea is that whether you win or not, these queens are going to go out and try to get shows. So we figure by the time they graduate, So You Think You Can Drag, hopefully they'll have learned more stuff that they can actually use towards, furthering their drag careers.
Well, they do get to go off and, I mean, there's a cash prize, but they also get to go off and do a show, right? I mean, that's part of
If they win, so there's a $100 weekly prize, and then the grand prize is $500 and a wonderful photo shoot / flyer that Alexander Dorr, who's been doing my photos for years, does. Then they get a show at New World, the Time Out Lounge, and the first person's show ran for 2 years, and the second person for a year, and then they went out of town. I think they're coming back and starting to show up again. But it's a great exposure, and so many people like really want it. And I think a lot of people forget along the way that, oh my God, I can win a show.
Right.
And I think it's a really good chance for you to also see if you yourself personally are capable of really doing a show, or just performing and doing a guest spot here and there.
Well, one of the things that I actually had the most difficulty with was, you've got the queens who sing live, and you've got the queens who lip sync, and it's like that's really hard for me to judge. I mean, you sing live.
I do both.
She does both.
Yeah.
But I mean, you really sing,
Yeah.
and so if you're competing, you're going to really sing, and it's hard when like Lady Bukkake or one of those girls was like really singing, and then there was this girl who was sort of a fierce lip syncer too. But it's like, how do you sort of put those two things? They're sort of apples and oranges to me.
It's true. It's very tough to do that, and when that sort of thing happens, you kind of have to really start bringing it down to the brass tacks and looking at the queen and their outfit and how do they behave before the show. Do they get their tracks in on time? Do they promote and get their friends out? Because that's a big deal too, is that these queens will have to bring a crowd. The best thing is that every drink you buy during the event gets you a ballot to vote.
Right.
So as you know from a judge, we do get our own certain number of votes and Paige gets hers. But the entire crowd essentially determines the winner, so they speak, depending on how much of an alcoholic they are, you can really determine who's the
And
winner.
how popular they are. Bring your friends.
But I love this question because I really think it just comes down to, I like to do both, and everyone's like, why don't you just sing only, or just do like parodies only, or this or that? And I think it's always about the performance. There's some songs that I definitely want to lip sync because it's about almost like making fun of the spirit of the artist, and the gay community being like, oh my God, she's doing that number, but then commenting on it throughout the way, the ridiculousness.
And in terms of So You Think You Can Drag, so we're going to see it out through the season, hopefully maybe a spring season as well. And like, is there sort of like, again, a bigger sort of like, do you want to take it to like a larger venue, or do you love New World Stages? Do you feel like it's at its home, or?
I like New World Stages because it's the theatrical venue.
Absolutely.
And I think when people come there, a lot of people get really intimidated by the space. And I'm always like, it's so inviting because it's a theater space and it's very warm. And it feels like you're on the set of like Project Runway meets that other big drag show I'll watch. And so it kind of like is a morph of those two, and you're really like right there, and it's exciting, but it's like alive.
And it's also nice to not have it at a bar or a club, which is where most drag shows happen, to be able to go into a large theatrical arena
Yes,
with a
that's the
runway
key,
and the stage and the flashing lights and everything. It's just a much more glamorous and sort of grandiose type of stage than a normal drag show, and I think that's why New World is sort of uniquely.
The staff is great.
Oh,
They are.
wonderful.
They were.
So
And I
great.
have to say, I mean, I walked in and I was like, wow, they have their shit together.
Oh, meetings back in July.
Yeah, I know. It
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah,
And
it's
I was just
great.
like, and then you've got the stage managers running around and keeping us all lubricated.
yes,
And,
she's
amazing.
it's like,
Zoe.
No, it's great. So
no, they're
congratulations.
wonderful. Thank you.
It's
Yeah.
really a wonderful, wonderful evening. And all I can say is if you are in New York City, come on Wednesday night. Doors open at 10:30. The show starts at 11 at New World Stages on West 50th Street between 8th and 9th. It's called So You Think You Can Drag, and I promise you will have an amazing time. Thank you so much for stopping by on this
Thank
rainy
you.
afternoon.
Thank you,
And we'll see you soon.
See you soon. Thanks.
So this season, I'm adding a little something new to the show. It's a segment called Seat Filler. And along with our friends at The Advocate, we're going to bring you updates and thoughts and interviews and all the goings on in the New York theater scene. So here is our very first Seat Filler. Welcome to The Advocate Seat Filler on Here TV. Now, Seat Filler is not going to be your average review show. I'm not interested in being a theater critic, but rather to bring you all you need to know about Broadway and beyond. And of course, I'll chime in every once in a while with my opinion, but hopefully that will encourage you to go to the theater and make decisions for yourself. So let's get started. Full disclosure, I love the musical Bring It On. So when I heard that a musical based on Bring It On was coming to Broadway, needless to say, I was as giddy as if I was trying out for my own high school squad. However, soon after the lights went down at the St. James Theater, I discovered that this musical was not the rivalry between Torrance High School and Compton High School that I have come to know and love. And I have to admit, I was a little put off, but it took me a second to sort of get into the groove. But once I did, it was smooth sailing, and sailing indeed. As you can imagine, the musical numbers right from the beginning are chock full of cheerleading routines with basket tosses so high that I thought they were going to hit the lighting grid. The story is relatively simple. It follows the peppy, cute as a button Campbell, whose lifelong dream is to win the National Cheerleading Championship. And after some crazy, confounded twists, Campbell is reassigned to a new high school, the inner city Jefferson High. Campbell, along with her chubby friend Bridget, the only two from the Truman High to be redistricted to Jefferson, need to forge their way in this new and unfamiliar world. Only now, the tables are turned. The once unpopular Bridget is now being pursued by boys, and the ever popular Campbell, well, she doesn't really fit in so well anymore. But alas, there's a group of hotshot dancing girls who take pity on them and let them join their dancing crew. Meanwhile, back at Truman, it's all about Eva, and add a little dollop of single white female and you'll get my drift. So the mousy little sophomore Eva, who has carefully plotted her way to become captain of the squad, is gleefully and beautifully taking fruition. Campbell convinces her crew at Jefferson to become a cheerleading squad, and they compete and win a berth at the Nationals. I don't want to give away who wins in the end, and ultimately it doesn't matter, but suffice to say that the outcome is very satisfying. This musical is the quintessential musical for young people today, especially for the It Gets Better generation. Oh, that's not to say that there's not a lot in it for old-timies like me, with Jeff Whitty's clever lines and references from movies like Mad Max, Welcome to the Thunderdome, or Paris is Burning, Snatching Trophy. But the message of the musical is clear. Friendship and family above all. Be yourself, and winning doesn't always mean taking first place. The music by Tom Kitt and Lin-Manuel Miranda are appropriately poppy and fun, and the lyrics by Amanda Green and Lin-Manuel Miranda are filled with clever references and fun wordplay. The cast, filled to the brim with Broadway newbies, is lovable, and audiences definitely find themselves rooting for the good guys, or in this case, the good gals, and booing for the bad. A noteworthy standout is Gregory Haney as the cross-dressing La Cienega, a fierce dancing queen with a sharp tongue. But what I really loved about this drag turn was that there was never any big reveal. It just was. And the way the rest of the Jackson High student body accepted La Cienega as just part of their adolescent normative gave me a whole new hope for this generation. My nieces came to town a few months back, and my only regret is that I didn't take them to see this show, because I know they would have loved it. In my opinion, Bring It On the musical is simply high-flying adorable. That's about it for today, but come back and I promise you I will bring you the latest and greatest that New York City has to offer. I want to thank all my guests today, Kimberley Locke, the folks at the Queer Museum and the Leslie Loman Gallery, and of course Paige Turner and Justin Luke. And remember, if you want to contact me, you can write to me at justjosh@heretv.com. That's justjosh@heretv.com. And as always, I'll see you again soon.